Hi, and welcome to show number 34 of the elcafecitotraveltalks, a podcast where people share travel stories and adventures. My name is Tony Lloyd, and I'm your host. In today's show, I talk with my guest about how he decided to relocate to Cuenca, Ecuador, after the pandemic changed his life around. But before we start, I'd like to thank all the people who've donated so far to this program. And if you're someone who would like to donate, please take a look at the podcast notes to see how you could do so. I'd like to give a shout out to all the people that are listening to us in different countries all over the world, from Spain, Korea, France, Germany, Switzerland, England, the Netherlands, and a whole lot more. Please take a look at our Facebook page for the written stories. And if you're someone who likes to write or have an idea for a future show, please send an email to elcafecitotraveltalks@gmail.com. For any comments or suggestions that you might have on how to improve on the show, please send me an email at that same address, which is elcafecitotraveltalks@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe so that you get all the updates as soon as the new shows come in. And leave reviews, hopefully if they're 5 over 5, so others could also enjoy in this program. This episode was recorded live here at the rooftop of the El Cafecito, so you'll hear some background noise from the plaza down below. Also, it's a space that we're currently developing into a co-working space for all the travel nomads out there that are looking to come to Cuenca, where you could enjoy a great view of the city of Cuenca while sharing ideas with other digital nomads. For now, I invite you to get yourself a cup of tea or a coffee and enjoy today's show.
My name is Kaspian, and I am now living in Cuenca, Ecuador, for an undetermined amount of time.
Okay. And Kaspian, how did you end up in Cuenca?
I took an airplane.
Okay.
No,
most of us did.
Yeah, no. So when the pandemic hit, everything in my life kind of ended at once. Everything resolved in a manner of speaking. I didn't have a job. My housing situation changed. My dog died. It was just kind of like I didn't really know what was going to come next. My life became pretty instantly a blank slate, a clean canvas, and I knew I wanted to paint something on that canvas that I hadn't painted before, and had always been curious about Ecuador, but never really considered it until it became an option for me. Like everything else was done, so why not?
Why not? Okay.
Yeah.
And in Ecuador, how was maybe some of the first times you'd heard about it? You said you'd been curious. How did that curiosity come about?
The Galapagos Islands are, famous the world over, and I think that was maybe my first introduction to the country. But my father had subscribed to International Travel Magazine, and Ecuador was a place that he had often talked about wanting to travel to. Yeah, so that was kind of, I already knew a little bit about Ecuador from that, but I think also I'm generally a geography geek, and I like knowing where other parts of the world are, and what people live there, and what it's like and
what they're doing there.
Yeah. So, so Ecuador wasn't like, where in the world is this place? I knew where it was at, and
Okay. Well, how did your initial desire to travel come about?
My whole life, I've been curious about people who have different stories, different background, different experiences than I've had. It's kind of been something that I guess has made me sort of a xenophile, just interested in people who have a different way of seeing the world. Every language is different set of colors to paint the air with, and so I've always been curious. I remember when I was like 8 or 9, there were a couple of young teenage girls from Russia who had been taken in by a family on my street. This was, I think, my first real exposure to, trying to talk to somebody who didn't speak the same language as me. And I just remember talking to them in English and them not understanding me and telling me, words back that I didn't understand, and it sounded so different. That combined with the movie An American Tail that I watched as a kid really made me curious about going to other places. The story An American Tail it's a cartoon feature of this mouse who travels from Russia to the United States. I remember as a kid watching it and being more curious about where he came from than where he was going.
That's interesting. Yeah. As a child, did your family travel at all, or where did you start to travel?
My family, travel I think for anybody is a privilege, and I get that there there's always some financial cost associated with that, and some people travel is something they're able to make happen in their life, and others not. I'm the most well-traveled person in my family, and I don't think I've really actually been to that many places, but it's something that's been important to me most of my life. When I was 23, I went to Russia to teach English for 6 months.
And that was your first travel experience?
That was my first real travel experience. I had dipped across the border into Mexico and into Canada, but it was not really a real travel to a different place and stay there for a while kind of experience, which is what Russia was. And I wanted to go not to Moscow and St. Petersburg, but interior Russia. I went to Ufa, which is on the western side of the Ural Mountains near the Asia border.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, people could check that out on Google.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea where that is, but that's okay.
North of Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan, I've heard of, yes, definitely.
Yeah, almost to Central Asia, yeah.
Okay, and before this trip to Ecuador, what were you doing?
My professional background is in conflict resolution, mediation work, and I studied that at Portland State University in the United States. Got a mentorship through a local nonprofit organization called Resolutions Northwest, where I learned actually contextualized mediation. And that mentorship launched me into working for Airbnb, and that was an amazing job. I had never really had a job that I loved before until I started working there. And frankly, everybody that I worked with loved what they were doing too.
Oh, good. Some points for Airbnb then.
Yeah. The pandemic, crushed a lot of the Airbnb infrastructure, as it did for, travel the world over for the hospitality industry. But it was phenomenal work environment. They took such good care of us. My department, we dealt with anything that was that went really wrong. Okay.
So give us an example of
just maybe a dispute between a host and a guest over something. Somebody a lot of times when somebody takes their hosting business really seriously, the host feels that the guest has disrespected them in some way. It feels really personal. And so a lot of times these personality conflicts could emerge. Sometimes it boiled down to money. The guest pays their fee and the host gets, compensated for the work that they've done. But there's only one set of money, and if the guest and the host both feel they're entitled to it, how do we split that in a way that feels, fair to both parties? And like any other company, there are mistakes that a company could make. And then I was empowered to issue formal apologies and to listen to people with, when something went wrong. And
can you give us I don't know, without saying names, obviously, that's more than obvious, a situation that happened, a story, obviously change the names.
I honestly don't, legitimately, I don't know if I'm allowed to or not. If I'm contractually obligated to keep. But an example of the kind of thing that could happen.
Okay, exactly.
One story does come to mind where there was a host who was really, she just really wanted to be liked by her guests. Okay. And the guests just really wanted some privacy. And this host was, asserting herself, we should have wine together and let me do this and that. And that just kind of started to produce a bigger and bigger conflict. The guests also had some complaints that the place wasn't clean enough, which offended the host. And the host came back, and being third party to the reservation all the time, I never knew what really happened. Somebody could take photographs and this is what it looked like, and but we never knew what really happened. But in mediation, it can get really easy to get lost in those weeds of the details, and I have proof. And at the end of the day, I think all of us have similar emotional needs. Sometimes it was just being heard or recognized for what was being provided or what didn't go right. I guess it's being able to delve into listening and apologizing or recognizing what somebody's deeper emotional needs are. Practicing that every day at Airbnb was what I loved. Okay. That was what I loved. And I was supported in doing that. And sometimes, money, issuing a refund or something like that is proof that did take your concern seriously. And I was empowered to do those kinds of things when necessary. So. Okay. And there are times, obviously, that were not only always bad situations, but maybe a good situation. Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. My department existed because problems exist. Customer service in any company exists because problems exist. But I think the one thing that everybody in my office really believed in was travel, and the company supported us in. They gave us a travel credit that we could use to actually use the product that we were working for. When you would hear stories about a host and a guest that had really connected and had like a transformative experience through that, it was really, really rewarding. Sometimes I would be talking to a host just about an account issue of sorts or whatever, but in the process, as they were talking to me, they wanted to share something about what their hosting experience and journey had been like. Friends that they had made along the way that they were still in touch with. That's like the heart of what Airbnb's product was about.
Okay.
So at least while I worked there, that was what I got to experience and witness. And
so right now, okay, the whole tourism industry at this current moment is hit very hard. Here at the hostel, we're like with one guest right now. It's just hit very hard completely. I've heard a few weeks ago things like companies like Airbnb that went down really low, that they're considered to be the first ones to be that will reestablish. What are your thoughts on that? Well, the reason why people say they're the first ones to be reestablished is because people are afraid of going into hotels and they'd rather go into a private space where they're not dealing with the possibility of being cross-contaminated by other people that are in the hotel. Do you have any particular thoughts on that?
When I first arrived in Ecuador myself, I stayed in hostels.
Okay.
I'm renting an apartment now on Airbnb.
Okay.
One thing that I do think that, Airbnb has explicitly stated this in news releases and stuff, that travel will resume, and when it does, it will look different. One of the things that I suspected at the time that they laid off me and my colleagues in our Portland office was that people are going to look to do more longer term stays. Like, I'm going to check out a different city and like stay there for a while in one spot. Okay. So that's something that the short-term rental market provides that hotels don't quite provide in the same way. Hotels do provide a totally different experience, and I think that there's a place for hotels, and I think there's a place for the short-term rentals as far as like the travel experience goes. One thing that I did notice on the website shortly after I was let go is that they now have a feature where you can search for month-long stays or more, and that's built into built into the website there. And that was how I found the place that I'm currently staying in, is that the host only accepts 30 days or more for a guest to stay there. And I think a lot of hosts are doing that as well.
Okay. Yourself, you are here now in Cuenca, and you're staying at the Airbnb. How are you adapting to life here in Cuenca? What are some of the things, like for people who are thinking, maybe I want to come to Cuenca also?
Okay. I tried out a few different places. I was first in Guayaquil, and I didn't venture out a whole lot because, again, it's pandemic, and I don't really see myself as a traditional tourist right now because tourist places are closed and the pandemic is still a reality. So Guayaquil is just a big concrete city, lots and lots of people, and after a couple weeks there, I was like, I need to try something else. I went to Quito, and Quito is unspeakably beautiful. Really, really loved Quito. But I wanted to also check out Cuenca. And ultimately, the reason why I settled on staying a little longer in Cuenca is because it feels a little safer, it's a little quieter, and it feels more supportive for that ideal of I'm just quietly living my life than kind of in a bigger metropolis that you would find in Guayaquil or Quito.
Question might enter in several people's minds. It's like, are you finding the things that you would find in the U.S. here?
I didn't come here to look for things that I would find in the U.S.
Okay, that's a fair way to answer the question.
That being said, like, there have been moments where I thought I was getting one thing and got another. So, for example, pizza. In my mind, like, pizza is pizza. But here it's a little different. They don't really use a whole lot of red sauce on it, if any at all. I've had some pizza in Ecuador that was just bread with melted cheese.
Okay.
And food and food culture is different everywhere. And I think if a person goes to travel abroad somewhere and they're expecting to find all of the comforts of home, they're going to be disappointed. You travel to a different place to have different experiences.
Totally agree.
And some of those experiences might lead to disappointment. So whenever you are eating international cuisine that is being hosted in a country that cuisine is not from, such as if here in Ecuador, if I go to a Chinese restaurant, I shouldn't expect to have authentic Chinese food. Same as in my hometown, and authenticity of food culture is something that sure we could debate on how authentic is this food that's person could easily debate that, but Yeah, I had some Chinese food in Guayaquil that I was very disappointed in, but it's part of the experience, and traveling abroad is to try things. I've also had things that from Ecuador that was just really, really delicious.
What's one of your favorite Ecuadorian dishes?
Pan de
so far?
yuca. It's not a dish. It's just bread made from yuca, and it's really chewy and really just. I eat more of it than I probably should.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and then hornado de chancho.
Hornado de chancho.
It's like a pork stew.
Yes.
Yeah, and just man, it was really, really delicious.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's easily to replace some of your regular cuisine for local cuisine, and that's the whole idea of traveling.
It's trial and error.
Okay.
You'll find some things are just like, wow, this was amazing to discover, and other things are just like, this doesn't scratch my itch.
Okay.
And that's okay.
It's perfectly fine. One of the reasons we met is that we're starting here at the Cafecito on our rooftop. We're starting a concept of basically getting traveling nomads together. How do you see, do you have any prediction, or how do you see the whole nomadic tribe, the digital nomadic tribe after the pandemic? Because what I've noticed is that there's been a few people that have come into Cuenca in the last little while, and obviously they're all working on their computers, continuing digital nomad style. What sort of thoughts do you have on that?
Yeah, the world, a large portion of the world's workforce has moved to that work from home model, which does give certain freedoms associated with that I don't think have been enjoyed quite on the same scale that they are now. So the ability to work from anywhere, as long as you meet your employer's requirements. And I absolutely think that that's going to be something that will continue to grow. Myself, I really like having the distinction between my workspace and my home space. I also really like having coworkers.
Okay.
A prior job that I had was caring for disabled adults. I didn't have coworkers. I would go to their house and I would help them to do their grocery shopping and things like that. And when I transitioned out of that job, I realized how important it was for me to have people around me that were on the same page as me as far as the support in my working. So I think things like co-working spaces are going to continue to grow. In fact, the office that I worked out of in Portland, the Airbnb office, was set up as a co-working kind of environment. We didn't have cubicles. We had places that teams were assigned to generally to work in, but we could work anywhere in the building that we wanted to.
Okay.
And it was comfortable. It felt like I was in a 4-story coffee shop. It was amazing. Anyway, I think they're going to probably end up taking that building and everything that's inside of it and turning it into a co-working space, because I think that's what people want.
For.
Especially as the pandemic resolves, and people feel more comfortable being able to go into co-working kind of spaces.
And when you yourself are looking for a co-working space, maybe 2 or 3 things that you would look for in a co-working space?
I think just immediately what comes to mind is the ability to connect with others when you want, and to disconnect from others when you want, and a culture around being able to express those boundaries. I am a highly social person, and I really like being able to have coworkers, and also having coworkers that you really love can be distracting when you have work that you're trying to focus on. So I think having a culture of, hey, I don't want to talk right now, I'm in the middle of something, and being able to have that be a totally okay and normalized thing, as well as being able to welcome interaction as a way to energize yourself in your workday.
Okay. So John Smith is listening to us right now, and he's thinking, is this for me? Could I go off to another country and then get myself an apartment also and join one of these co-working spaces? What would you say to John?
I'll tell you this. When I was first just kind of reckoning with the reality that my life had become a blank canvas, and I realized I could travel abroad if I wanted to and live somewhere else for a while, the prospects were scary of just getting rid of everything that I've loved and just whittling it down to a suitcase. And what really made me decide to leave home was the recognition that in the future, a year from now, 2 years from now, whenever, when I look back at the moment that I made the decision to leave, whether to leave or not to leave, I didn't want to make a decision that I would have wished had made a different choice. Okay. I don't know if that makes sense. Kind of wordy the way I phrase that, but
it's sort of like it's better to do it than to regret it.
Yeah, just I always wondering what would have happened if I had, if I had actually done it, and because what was going on in my hometown was predictable. Mm-hmm. It was, it was the norm, and I loved it. And I also said goodbye to it. Okay. And so, but I only have this life to live right now, and I want to see things I haven't seen before. I want to be in places that challenge my paradigm. If I believe things that are false, they deserve to be broken. And one great way to do that is to expose yourself to the reality of different lives, different people.
No, sounds very good. So what do your friends and family, what do they say about the idea that you wanted to move away to Ecuador during this time period, of Corona and all that? What did they have to say? What did people around you have to say about the move that you made?
Some people think, oh, you're so brave. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think it takes more courage to stay, I don't know, courage, if that's the right word, it's more work. It's harder to stay put, I think, for me anyways. If I was to stay in my hometown, it would have been much more difficult.
In what sense?
In the sense, first of all, everything, the political turmoil that's going on back in the United States. Okay. So that's one thing. Also, the pandemic is totally unchecked in the United States right now. Okay. Here in Ecuador, it's not politicized. You go outside, people wear their masks. You go into a business, they spray your hands with alcohol. There's no perfect way to deal with a pandemic, but, the people here are trying. And in the United States, there's been a lot of conflict about the reality of whether or not it's really a thing. And, it's just the pandemic has become a divisive topic there. So from that perspective, it's easier to be here, I think, because it's not a divisive topic. Unlike the note of conspiracy theories, and I don't want to dive into a whole thing on that, yeah. But I would rather be fooled into wearing a mask and to using rubbing alcohol for a fake pandemic than to be spreading a disease that could have really detrimental effects on whole communities and economies.
Very good point. Mother, father, other relatives were like, okay, that's...
They're like, we understand why you want to do this, okay. It was just, some people have said that I'm brave for doing it, but I don't know if bravery is the word that I associate with myself in doing it. Just craving something different than I've ever experienced. I don't know. Seeking the unknown. Looking for the path that just opens on its own.
Okay. Sounds. We've talked about several times on the show of the idea that there's a whole group of people out there calling you, and you're being called, and so you're now one of the others that are on the other side.
Yeah. No, the end of July, I was on a camping trip in the Cascade Mountains in Oregon with some friends near Brighton Bush Hot Springs Resort, which has now been burned to the ground.
Wow. Oh, because of all the fires.
Wildfires.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, really, really tragic. But I was out there camping. I was talking to a friend of mine, and just like, I was looking at flights, and to fly from Portland to Guayaquil is $140 one way. I think I'm going to go to Ecuador. And my friend, she was like, well, I've been looking at going to Vietnam, but it's kind of a mess there right now. And, maybe I'll go to Ecuador too. And she's also here in Cuenca now.
So maybe we'll have her on the next show. Okay.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah, she and her partner, he just arrived a week ago. So now he's here too.
So I'll look forward to having them on
so maybe people are calling other people, the international
we're being
travel
brought over. Okay, well, thank you for spending the time sitting down and talking with me. It was a short notice. We literally just met a few hours ago, and so it was nice chatting with you. And then hopefully you enjoy the rest of your time here in Cuenca, and maybe we'll have you on again another time.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening in. Hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to get a hold of Kaspian, please take a look at the podcast notes to see how you could do so. Also in the podcast notes are information on how you could donate to the show. All contributions will be gratefully appreciated. Please take a look at our Facebook page to see the written stories. If you're someone that likes to write or have an idea for a future show, please send us an email to elcafecitotraveltalks@gmail.com. Any questions or comments or improvements for the show, also send an email to that same address, which is elcafecitotraveltalks@gmail.com. As always, I look forward to seeing you one day here in the El Cafecito in Cuenca. If you're someone that's here and you would like to come and look at our co-working space on our rooftop with a perfect view of Cuenca, you're welcome to stop by any Tuesday or Thursday, or send us an email to find out some more information. All the best for now, and please stay safe.